Hey, Liz, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Let's get into email. I'm so excited about this.
Well, I don't know if you're going to be, because I've got to admit, it kind of, for a start, Brian Bogart gave me your details, okay? And it
Okay.
intrigued me. And we're going to get into the aficionado of music, down into the podcast. But he was saying to me about that you are a marketing genius within the world of email. And over the years, I've kind of gone, emails are great. One of the things that we have to do, but it's no longer the leader. So why would you defend it and say that email marketing is still something that we should be paying attention to?
Sure. Well, give me 1 sec. I need to pick my job off the floor. Now, I would say that email is still the leader. It's still number one, and everything else can come after. And that's coming from the perspective of someone who didn't have a lot of time when she first started her business, didn't have any support, didn't have any money. But, I was listening to podcasts like this, looking at all the Facebook ads, and I'm an efficient person. Like, I don't like waste of any kind. And I just saw, in the different marketing avenues that email seemed to, even in this day and age, have the highest ROI. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I went for it. And I think you're totally right, Steve, that a lot of people do it wrong. And that's why you think email, maybe it's not dead, but it is stinking. Right. But I would love to challenge you and say, it's only stinking for the people that don't do it right.
So what are people doing wrong?
Sure. So and I'm going to be burnt at the email marketing stake one day for saying this. But they're telling too many stories. Like, if you don't have time to write a story, chances are your people in their inbox especially don't have time to read stories. That's not why email came about. The same way that people interact in their actual mailbox is the same way people are interacting in their inbox. So it's that same type of behavior. We go out to our mailbox, we've got 3-4 pieces of mail, and oh gosh, that's Justin. I don't even know that guy. He must have moved years ago. Oh, that's a bill. I'm going to open that later. Oh my gosh, Steve just sent me something. I'm going to open that right away, right? Because holy crap, he just sent me something. It's got to be important. And so if you can make that same behavior happen in the inbox for yourself and your subscribers, you're golden. So like, oh, that's spam. I don't know why that's in my inbox. Oh, how did that person get my email in the first place? That's a bill. I'm going to open that later. Holy crap. Liz Wilcox just emailed me. I'm going to open this and I'm going to, totally forget about the other 500 emails I've got. It's that same behavior. So if you can craft a relationship that makes it so, like, when I see Steve's name in the inbox, I'm opening it up because I know there's something of value there because he's emailing me. Then, that's when you see that ROI that all those email marketers talk about.
Well, we know that's the Holy Grail. We know the Holy Grail is to have you above everybody else so that your message is heard above everyone else and everyone wants to come around to your party. We know that's the Holy Grail, but in the early stages, when someone's going, I don't know if I like what this guy's got to say. Yeah, I'll subscribe to his newsletter. How do we take him from interest to raving fan?
Sure. So it's really simple, just a really simple welcome sequence. You don't need a ton of like funnels or crazy things, but you have to show off just 3 things: personality, your vision, and your values. If you're watching this, maybe on an Instagram snippet, or, you're listening to the podcast and you Google me later, like, whoa, Liz Wilcox has a lot of personality, right? And I'm putting that into my emails. And of course, you don't have to have rainbow glasses and a Fresh Prince shirt to have personality, but you've got to show part of that personality. There's a reason why Coca-Cola, Nike, these giant brands show off, some kind of like actual personality, right? Like the market demands it. Next, you want to show that vision. You can have as many followers, you can get 100 followers a day, 10,000 followers a day. But if you're not leading them to something, if you're not showing them your vision for how, you're going to work with them, then they're going to fall off the wagon, right? They're not going to open up those emails. So like directly, and you can do this in one sentence. Like for me, it's, as much as I love the 90s, I love the idea of making you money with email even more. Boom, that's my vision of our future together, right? And if you like that idea, you're going to really start to follow me. You're going to open up those emails because you want to see what's happening next, right? And then your values, the same way I just said, you know, Coca-Cola, Nike, they inject personality into their brand. They're also, you know, the market is demanding that we know their values. Where are they in, you know, their waste, right? Like where's all that plastic going? How are they, you know, making changes? You know, what is their value on social justice, right? And I'm not telling you to put your politics in your emails, but there's got to be some sort of value set there that people connect with. And so your personality, your vision, and your values, if you just put that into, you know, a very simple welcome sequence, that's going to get people to either really, really connect where, oh my gosh, Steve sent me an email, or I'm out of here. I'm not really, you know, I like the Backstreet Boys. I didn't like NSYNC. I'm out of here, Liz.
So well, that's a whole new argument. But so you're talking very clearly there about identifying your goals, your aspirations, your politics, potentially your brand, your values, what makes sense for you. You're establishing your personal brand. And one of the things I liked about what you said was the way that Nike and Apple did it. And Nike and Apple do have a personality, you know, even though they're not a single person, they have a personality. So for, you know, like it or not, they do have a personal brand. How important is identifying a personality today in marketing and business?
It's so important. And most people will tell you to do it through storytelling, right? You know, we've got Story Brand, you know, Nike, Apple, they make 5-minute commercials, right? They're crafting these stories, and that is very important, but you can do it in a very simple way. It's like when he said Nike, I think their personal brand is hustlers, right? People who just, you know, whatever it takes, right?
Just do it. Yeah.
Right. Just do it. Right. And then I think of Apple, is for the creator, right? Someone like you or me who's, you know, we're trying to just build out this dream, you know, make a better world, and, you know, do it with the right tools. And so it's very important. The market really demands it. There's a reason why I'm leaning into the Fresh Prince and NSYNC and all these things, because the next time you hear NSYNC on the radio, you see Will Smith on Instagram, suddenly you're thinking about Liz Wilcox. Suddenly you're thinking about email marketing when you were just scrolling through social media. That's free advertising right there.
So it's making yourself recognizable and it's creating a trigger. So let's go down to some basics. You're just starting to capture people on your email list. You're on a podcast. You've mentioned your name a few times. People come over to you. They join your list. How do you craft, and this is the leading agent, how do you craft a compelling subject line?
Sure. So, and I would argue with Steve here that that's not the compelling agent. The foundation, the welcome sequence, it doesn't matter what your subject lines are if you get your welcome sequence right. But as far as it goes with subject lines, and really the way that you write is just writing to a friend, you know, a subject line to a friend, the same as that mailbox analogy I did at the top of the hour, right? You want to talk to, you know, like I would be talking to Steve, like I'm really literally writing Steve an email, right? What would I say? You know, thanks for having me on the podcast, or let's catch up soon, or following up on whatever, right? Those are real subject lines I would write to get his attention, instead of something like the way we write for SEO, you know, when we're trying to, I would literally type in like how to write a newsletter. That's not going to be my subject line, because I'm trying to stand out. I'm trying to be compelling using Steve's word. And I'm trying to stand out in that inbox. So I need people to know that I am a person. Even if I'm a bigger brand, like you still have to know that there are people behind that brand. So you want to write a subject line to a friend.
And you've created this 90s music aficionado personality and persona around you. How much of that is now, I'm not going to argue with you about the standard of 90s music, but how much of that has been created to help you within your marketing and branding?
Sure. So this is really who I am, but of course I lean into certain things. I always say this is my uniform. So you can Google me. I've got the headband on. I've got my Will Smith, my collar. You know, it was very 90s, right? Even my haircut. I when I go to the hairdresser, I show them my website and I say this is what I need to look like, right? And so it is. I do go into branding like pretty intensively. But I will say my very first business was an RV industry business. And so I was talking to men in their 60s. They don't care about Will Smith. They're not into Justin Timberlake, all of that. And so I was talking about different things. Maybe I was bringing up the Grateful Dead. I was talking about, I was still my fun, humorous self. My first book actually was a book called Tales from the Black Tank, which if you don't know, the Black Tank is where the sewage goes in your caravan. So I was still, making jokes, being fun, being Liz Wilcox, but in a different way. And that goes part of, I talked about personality, vision, values, and turning yourself into a friend. There are 3 things that you need to do in order to make a friend. You've got to invest your time in them, right? Email, do social media, do a podcast like this, whatever that looks like. Number 2, share in a relatable way, right? NSYNC is not relatable to men in their 60s. I was not talking about that back in the day, right? And then you've got to stay top of mind. You've got to, stay consistent in your newsletter. If you do it for a month and then you fall off 3 months later, oh gosh, I've got this course I need to sell, and you sell it, you don't have a list full of friends. Nobody cares about your course. Like, get out of here, right?
So there's a number of things that get in the way of emails now, spam guards and blocks sending. And if you've got a big list and you put it out too much, you can get Google suddenly think you're just like, doing a turkey shoot. So how do you get over that? I remember we had a list of, it was just under 30,000 people. And it seemed the more emails we got, the more problematic it was to actually get through. And when we would send out an email, you get an open rate, which was still good, of like 20%. And then you'd take those that didn't open it, you'd send it out to those, and you'd get a 20% again. It didn't seem no matter how many you sent out, you couldn't mess around with that algorithm number. Why is that?
Yeah, so you got to keep your list healthy. And number 1, the biggest mistake Steve made is he resent to those unopened. And so what the email service provider, something like Active Campaign, Keep, Flowdesk, ConvertKit, whatever you're using, I don't know why they do this, but they encourage you to resend to unopens. Don't do that. Basically, that's showing the internet gods that, what Steve was just talking about, that deliverability. I just call it the email gods, right? It's kind of like a credit score, right? And so it's basically telling the internet gods, like, I sent this content out and 20% opened. Then I sent this exact same piece of content out because I don't know no better, and even less people opened it now. So your email service provider will add 20 plus 20, you get 40. But the internet gods say, oh my gosh, this person keeps spamming people with the same content when they didn't open in the first place. And so that's why, as Steve had 30,000 people, it just got worse and worse. But if you do it properly, I like to liken it to a hurricane. It's only going to get stronger, right? That center, that core is going to be so strong that, your email wins are going to be like a freaking force, and you're going to be able to, do whatever you want with that list. But you've got to keep it healthy. And you can do that in a few ways. Number 1, I keep bringing this up, like set a firm foundation up with that welcome sequence, and we can talk about the exact emails that looks like, but basically, putting your best foot forward, setting expectations in your newsletter, telling people what's going to come up, showing off some content, giving that personality and that vision and your values, so that as new leads come in, they're opening up your emails. And so that, I'm picture that hurricane. It's growing, it's getting bigger, it's expanding. And then you've got to get those cold people, those people that you keep sending and keep not opening, you've got to cut them from your list. I know, cut your little darlings. I know building a list is not easy. It takes a lot of time. It's a slow growth thing. So it really hurts when you have to, maybe cut 10,000 people off your list. Even if you're just cutting a couple off your list when you first start off, like, it can really hurt. But every time you send out an email, I'm sending an email to Steve. Steve keeps not opening it. Every time that affects my, let's call it, my email credit score. That ticks the internet gods off. That tells them Liz is not important to Steve. So let's say, Justin comes into the game. He signs up for Liz's emails. Well, Steve has told us 10 times in the last month that he doesn't care about Liz. So we think Justin's not going to care either. We're going to put that in the spam folder. Heck, I need to get Steve out of there quick because he's ruining my business, right? And so that's how you have to think of it. There's other, of course, writing subject lines that make sense for your people, sharing in a relatable way, creating content like that, also getting replies. And of course, if you've got 30,000 people on your list, I don't recommend this. But as you're building your list, or if you have 30,000 people and you haven't emailed in a million years and you think, you've got an email open rate of 10% or less, try this out. Just ask a yes or no question. Your next newsletter, or put it in that first, welcome sequence email they get, some kind of PS and a yes or no question. So for me, it would be, I'm an email marketer. So I'm asking, hey, by the way, do you have an email list yet? Yes or no? Please hit reply and let me know. And it's got to be a yes or no question because, we're following this email staircase. We're turning people into friends, but they're not your friend yet. They don't care. They're not going to tell me their struggles on email marketing, how many times they've tried to make it work and they just think social media is better. No, they don't know me yet. They're just, they came in on a freebie or something, right? And so I need to build that trust. And so I'm just asking a yes or no question, something that in the forefront of their mind, they immediately know the answer and they can literally just hit reply with that. And do that over and over. If it's not working at first, just keep asking those yes or no questions. You're going to start to get replies. And the reason why I tell you to get replies, even if you have a big list, but you feel like your list is dead or you're completely disconnected from it, is when you hit reply. Again, the internet gods, they rule all. That signals to them like, oh, Steve replied to Liz. I'm going to put Liz in his inbox from here on out. And if Steve thinks she's important, then when Justin comes in later, oh, I'm going to put Liz into the inbox automatically because these people have been, we put him in the inbox. So if you can get someone to reply to you, that's a really good lead. And also it's really good for your deliverability.
I remember Dean Jackson used to do the 9-word email. Are you still looking for property in X? So he used to do very simple. And again, getting the simple response. So that's good. You've mentioned a few times a sign up sequence. Now, a lot of people, when they sign up, and I'm guilty of it, when they sign up, they get a welcome email and that's it. Then the next email they get, bang, they're into the newsletters. So you do a welcome sequence. How many newsletters are in your sequence?
Just 4, really simple, over 4 days, like get them in and out. If they don't, if 4 emails over 4 days is too much, then they don't need to be on your email list. They're not going to open again. They're going to bring that deliverability down so they can unsubscribe. So
what are the 4 emails? What is the subjects of each one?
Oh, Steve, I'm so glad you asked. So the first email, of course, is however they got on your list, give them that. Whatever, freebie, opt-in, however they got on your list, thank them for getting on the list, deliver what you said you would deliver, and then give a quick intro. I'm talking 1 to 2 sentences and then get out of there. The biggest mistake I see is everybody thinks they're Oprah or everybody thinks they're Will Smith and they want to give you their whole life story right up front. But remember, these people don't care, yet, right? They don't care yet. They just want what they came for. And chances are they probably won't even click on that, right? How many things do you sign up for that you never get around to, right? So we just want to get in and out. So deliver the freebie or whatever you want to call it. And then for me, again, it's, as much as I love the 90s, I love you and making money through email more, right? Peace out. More on that later, whatever, right? Very quick. I think everyone should just have like 100 words or less on that first email. The second email is your best content, right? They're actively searching for something. So let's give them the best of whatever they're searching for. So Steve, he put this podcast episode in there, obviously. For me, I love video. I love being on podcasts. I love doing, JV webinars, things like that. And so I do a welcome video. I want people to get used to me on video because I want them clicking on those videos later, right? And so I say, I have a homemade GIF I made that's got me waving and it says click to watch. So they click on that and it's just a Loom video that's, I think it's 90 seconds long, probably needs to be updated at this point, but it says, like, hey, welcome to my tribe. Super excited, showing off a little bit of that personality, that vision, that values. And then I get the heck out of there. And I think I even encourage them like, oh, you should make your own videos, right? And then the third email, and this is ding, ding, ding. Editor, somebody add a sound effect here. If you learn nothing else from Liz Wilcox today, this is what I want you to know. This is the action I want you to take. You've got to have something in your welcome sequence that sets expectations. The same way Steve introduced me at the top of this podcast, the same way when you watch a webinar, they give you the agenda. You go to college, they give you the entire syllabus for the whole semester. You have to set expectations for what is coming. That way, when you send an email, they know what's in it. They feel, as silly as it is, less fear. They feel confident that when they open it, they're going to know what's inside because you're about to tell them. So the first bullet point is just something, that has to do with your style. For me, I'm very fun, fresh, funky. I like to think I'm funny. And so I say something like, tons of fun and laughter when it comes to email. And then the second bullet, and this is the real ding, ding, ding. This is the real sound effect going off. If you do nothing else, please write this sentence somewhere in your welcome sequence. I am going to offer you free and paid products, free and paid services, free and paid resources, whatever word you want to use, because then they know you're a business. They know that you're going to, put them in a funnel or, send out newsletters that have PSs, check, here's how you can work with me. It's more than just a freebie and, oh yeah, I'll get to that later, whatever. Like they know that, Steve's a business, Liz is a business, right? It just flips the switch in the back of somebody's mind. And then the fourth email you're going to send out, this is where you can send a little bit of your story. This is where you get into your big why you got into whatever it is you do and how you're going to help that person specifically. Really, you just want someone, when they read it, to nod their head like, oh yeah, Steve is for me. I've found my people, right? So for me, it's, I got into email marketing. This was actually my third business. I sold books. I literally say stuff like, I sold a book about poop. Like whatever your idea is, it's better than mine. Like, let's do this together. I'm so tired of seeing my friends not make money with email and, scrambling. It's ridiculous. So but it's not until the fourth email you send that, because again, they don't care about you yet. They just want the freebie, or they signed up for your list so that they don't forget later to check it out. Right. But if they've made it to that fourth email, that's when you've shown off your personality. You've given them a little bit of the vision of how you can work together. You've shown off your value set. And that's when you can really like show them why you're in it. And they can say like, oh yeah, Steve's for me.
All right. Okay. So that's good. So we've got 4 simple sequences there. There's a lot of people that have fear with writing that kind of copy. And I've got my own experience and my own opinions on that. But what do you tell people about that, the fear of the copy? How good should that copy actually be?
Brevity is your friend. We're recording in 2022. This is your word of the year, brevity. Just keep it short. I really, I used to be a copywriter. I retired my services, but I started off just as a blogger. And really, number one, the more you write, the more comfortable you'll be. Number 2, you can always edit. If you write something, you get 30 people through, you get 3,000, whatever your number is. And then you go back and you say, oh, my brand has evolved. You can always evolve the copy. But in general, I would also say never write from scratch. You can literally go to lizwilcox.com and get all those emails that I've already written and just copy and paste what I wrote, right? And then as as your brand evolves, you can say, oh gosh, I would never say that. I can't believe I posted that. Let me go in and change that, but really you can get the framework of it. I always say never write from scratch, whether it's me, some other email marketer, or it's just a welcome sequence that you found that you like and you want to, use as a framework. Never write from scratch. Like that is a copywriter secret.
I remember a while back, I actually, because I can't spell very well, and my wife says that I use punctuation like I have to pay for it. I just avoid using it for some strange reason.
I
Um,
love that. It's
and
so funny.
I got a copywriter once, and the
Mhm.
copywriter started writing my emails, and they were very eloquent, and they had great big words I couldn't even say, let alone spell. And then they were doing really, really well, but
Mhm.
uh, there wasn't much kind of conversion, because once they got
Sure.
to speak to me, it was a different voice, it was a different tone. And in the end, I had to fire them for doing a good job, because they really did these absolutely beautiful emails that even I used to like to read, but they weren't from my voice. And I remember the funny thing was, I got rid of them, and then I wrote one of my own emails. Bad spelling, punctuation. Of course, with Grammarly and all those things now, it kind of like can auto correct your email and make you sound somewhat legible. And I sent this out. And you know, the first time I sent that out, someone sent me an email back and just went, "Glad to see you back, Steve." They recognized. Now that's also to a point. I don't want to be bad, and I'll never mention the guys, but the copywriter should have written under my voice and under my tone. What they
Amen.
did was they wrote under their more polished tone. So there was a disconnect there. But I think you being you is a good enough excuse. And if you say certain
Mhm.
things, and if you come across a certain way, like you, own that shit. And the people that you will attract will be people that you can connect with. Do never dilute you to connect to people that you should never be connected with. Right,
Yeah.
that's my little rant. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I love that, and I would say that copywriter did not do their job. But yeah, so I always say, like, as far as a voice guide, like a quick voice guide, like number one, just burn the rule book. Like, this is the internet. This is not like 1900. You're writing a novel that you hope gets published. Like, people read in such a different way online. They expect there to be grammar mistakes. They expect it to not be perfect. And also, people aren't really actually reading, like, spoiler alert, everyone's skimming. So they skim over your mistakes, let me tell you. And the people that don't, they're not going to buy from you anyway, so whatever. Number two, like, stop editing yourself. Like, I always say, if you truly cannot get away from that backspace button, you need to physically write things down first. And this is social media captions, like whatever kind of copy, right? And that way, because, pen to paper, it takes much longer than typing, right? And so you're automatically editing yourself, but in a much slower way, where you're not getting slowed down by backspace, and then you're constantly erasing and you're feeling like crap. So if it seems impossible, like, literally just set a 2-minute timer and see what you can write without editing yourself, and do that over and over again, like, if it's a real problem. And then,
Right.
of course, like, read what you've written out loud. Like, if Steve went with that copywriter and he said, okay, let's read this together, that copywriter probably would have seen, like, right away the error in their ways, right? Like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound like Steve at all, right? And then inject your favorite things. Like, I inject the 90s, my headband, my rainbow glasses. I talk about drinking Mountain Dew and going to the beach. So just pick maybe one or two things that are your favorite things that you're going to bring up over and over until you get comfortable with your voice where you can differentiate, right? But just start with a couple of your favorite things.
Now we're coming close to the end. How can people get hold of you?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Of course, I'm an email marketer. I would love for you to get on my email list. And especially if you do say, like, okay, Liz, I want to write that welcome sequence. If you write the welcome sequence, I will personally review it for you. You can just say, hey, I came from Steve. You said you would do this, and I'll take a look at it. I live and die for the inbox. But anyway, you can go to lizwilcox.com. In the top right-hand corner, there's a hot pink button. It says free email swipes. You're going to get an example of all 4 of those emails, plus 3 newsletter examples, because you've got to keep emailing them, right? And 52 subject lines, how Steve and I started this conversation, so you never actually have to come up with your own for the next year.
That's
How's
pretty
that
damn
sound?
good. That is good. All right, so that's that. We're gonna do that. We're gonna put that link in the show notes as well. Thank you very much for offering that service. Thank you. And now probably the pinnacle of all questions, the best 90s group was
probably Boys to Men. I love Boys to Men. I mean, I joke about NSYNC, you know, because they were obviously the most popular back in the day. But all the groups honestly list Boys to Men like as their inspiration. They really didn't get the credit they deserved. So y'all should check them out on YouTube tonight. That's your assignment. Write the welcome sequence while you're listening to Boys to Men. Tell them I sent you.
All right, Liz, thank you so much for doing this. It's been fun, and that's the whole point of it. So thank you very much for your time. Again, visit Liz's website. The link's below. She's already mentioned it. And get over there, get the subscription. Get them to the list and send her a secret. She is openly giving you an offer to be better than you currently are. So don't waste that. I'll probably do it myself as well, or get one of the team to do it. So thank you very much, Liz. Look after yourself, and we'll speak soon.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Bye.